It's good to have you with me on this Wednesday as we are in the middle of the week. I hope that you've had a wonderful time so far this week serving the Lord. Now, it's been cold all the way across the country. I got a text from my my church treasurer. He works for the bank, and I guess up in the Buffalo area, 3 feet of snow they're expecting sometime today. And I'm glad I'm not there. I'm glad I'm here. We're supposed to start warming up here in the Oklahoma City area. And if you're in a deep freeze somewhere, feel sorry for you, but thank God it's warming up here. Looking forward to church tonight as we continue our series on beginnings, this study of the book of Genesis. And tonight, you're going to want to be here as we continue this study on the book of Genesis. It's going to be very helpful as we take creation, God's original intent for creation. What was the purpose of creation? Why did God do this? And you're going to want to be here tonight for that. I'd encourage you, 7 o'clock. Now, of course, everything starts at 6:15 with all the classes before the Wednesday night Bible study, but you make sure that you're in your place. Let's have a great service tonight. How about that? You be in your place, and let's see what God can do. Well, today, I want to talk about brought down. In Genesis 39, in verse 1, the scripture says, "And Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, brought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites, which had brought him down thither." Now, Joseph had everything given to him as a young man. He was the favored child of all his siblings. He was given the best jobs of any of them. And this had caused great friction between him and his brothers. Now, that's a whole different lesson right there. His brothers had to work for what they acquired, but Joseph had everything handed to him. Now, things turned for the worse for Joseph when his father asked him to go and check on the welfare of the brothers who were working in the field. So Joseph was a great way off from his brothers saw him, and they made a pact with each other to have him killed. Though his life was saved because of his older brother, they still sold him into slavery with the hope that he would be killed as a slave. Now, one phrase is the key to Joseph becoming a great hero of the faith. In Genesis 39:1, it says, "And Joseph was brought down to Egypt." Before Joseph, get this now, could rise to position, God had to bring him down so that he could rebuild him into the man that he eventually became. Joseph would have never been mightily used of God had he not been brought down. You see, the reason God had brought him down was because Joseph had experienced the humility that failure brings before he could be trusted with the praise that position brings. The bringing down of Joseph was when God could begin to work with Joseph, because he had to look up to God to bring him out of his lowly estate. Now, I want you to listen to me. Nobody has ever been used who is not brought down to the point that they had to look up to God for help. Moses had to wander in the wilderness for 40 years before God used him to lead Israel out of Egypt. Peter, who was very confident in himself and his abilities, had to be brought down to nothing before God could use him to stand on the day of Pentecost to preach and to see thousands of people saved. Samson had to be brought down to the dungeon before he could see the greatest victory of his life. Job had to be brought down to nothing before God could bless him twice as much. You see, the piece of clay had to be marred in the hand of the potter before the potter could make it again, make a vessel, make it again to make it a useful vessel for him. You see, God often brings people down to realize their weakness and their depravity before he can use them in a great way. To those who think that they're a gift to society, let me just warn you, one day you're going to find out that God has a way of bringing you to nothing. God cannot use those who think they of themselves are special to everyone. Anyone God has ever used has had to be humbled before God used them in a great way. Now, you may think that you have all the answers to everything, my friend, But if you don't humble yourself, I'm telling you right now, God will bring you down to help you realize that you don't know anything and that he alone is the one who can lift you up. To those that life has brought you to nothing, let me encourage you that God is capable of helping you to rise again if you don't let your prison hold you captive. To Joseph's credit, he was a prisoner, but he never let life hold him captive. Even when he rose to great position, he never forgot the prison cell. You see, God will give you a thorn in the flesh, whether you like it or not, so that when he promotes you to great usefulness, the thorn in your flesh will be your reminder that you're nothing without God. I've been around young men who think they have the answers for everything, and I cringe because I know that God's going to have to bring them to nothing. My friend, you better stop thinking you know everything, and you better start realizing you know nothing and that you need God. Because when you need God that's when God can say, okay, now I can use him. God must humble us, bring us to nothing, give us that thorn in the flesh so that he can use us. Oh, he may use you before, but not to the extent that he wants to use you and that he could use you until you become nothing and you realize that God is everything and you need him for everything in your life. My friend, this is a secret to God using you. God must bring you down so he can lift you up. I hope you understand that. Wherever you are in this spectrum, if you've not been brought down, you better find a way to get humbled quickly because God will bring you down. He will show you what you are. If you've been brought down, don't let the prison hold you captive. Realize God's trying to use you. And let that prison that you're in humble you, reveal your weaknesses, and say, God, I need you. I love that song. I need thee. Oh, I need thee every hour. I need thee. Oh, that's a great song. We just understand, boy, we do need Jesus, and we need him every hour. Well, I hope this is a help to you today. Now, let's remember today, be good to everyone. Everyone's having a tough time. Have a